I did it, people. I actually took to the scissors and trimmed the beautiful Tarot of the Spirit. So here's my journey. First of all, may I say I love this deck so very much and had quite an incredible connection to it. Such a cliche line, I know. But every now and then there's a connection that goes beyond the artwork alone, and that's what I felt when I saw this deck online. I watched a walkthrough and really felt compelled to purchase this deck. Now, if you know me at all, you know that I am not one to impulse buy. Not anything. I need to go into my cave and have a think and reassess whether it's really going to work for me, etc., etc. It's just the way I work. And, you know, I'm very aware that I run the risk of missing out if it's an indie deck, and I have done. But that's the way it rolls for me, and I continue to honour that. Yet this deck came along and bingo, I had to have this deck, and I knew that there was a connection that was so deep. I felt it was almost like that sensation you get with a past life connection. You know, that deja vu where you feel like I've done this before, I've met this person before. You know, there's a journey that's continuing now. It's not so much a new beginning. How bizarre is that? So I'm wondering whether it has something to do with the fact that I am making my way towards an experience with the Thoth system, and that has been pushing me for, I'm going to say, quite some time. I mean, I've dabbled in, how can I say this? It's almost difficult to describe for me. I have picked up the Thoth deck on a number of occasions and felt or sensed this knowing that I am destined to work with that system very deeply, but the time didn't seem to be in sync with where I was at. If there's any, oh my God, I don't even know if you can make sense of that. But there was this sense that, it's more than a sense, it's a knowing. It's a knowing that I had in myself that part of my journey, and I think a very important part of my journey forward as a tarotist, was to work with the Thoth. But I think my ego mind was so keen to get started, yet I sensed very deeply that I wasn't ready yet. So if I did do it, it would have been perhaps a little superficial. And then during this year of change, you know, my internal changes have been profound, and they continue to swirl as I speak. And when this deck came up, I went through the normal realms of, oh wow, I love the artwork. This is one for me. But it also began when I watched this walkthrough. A deeper layer into this journey forward opened for me. It's not like opening a can of worms. It was more like peeling back the onion. You know, another layer gone, and therefore one step closer to working with the Thoth system. So, from a logical perspective, I felt that buying this deck was a good bridging format from the Rider-Waite-Smith and Mythic systems that I grew up on to the Thoth. So there was that side of it when I purchased this deck, a very, very deep connection. I can honestly say very different to what I have experienced before, even though I have a number of decks that I feel very connected and close to. So there you have it. I held them in my hands and thought, okay, wow, I didn't make a mistake by purchasing this deck. It was meant to be. I feel very comfortable. Yet for some reason, the borders, now, are they offensive? Not at all. Are they too much? No, I wouldn't say that. Do I prefer no borders? Yes, I do. But for some reason, the little US Games copyright stamp down here really, I can't say it bugged me, but every time I looked at this amazing artwork, my eyes were drawn to this little copyright stamp. It sounds utterly ridiculous when you consider how beautiful this artwork is. Yet every time I found myself going down there, visually. And I think that was just me, my higher self, if you wish to call it that, speaking to me. For whatever reason, I needed to cut the borders off. So I decided to trust my intuition. Why not? You should do it anyway, and move forward. So I did. Now, here is the deck sans borders. And of course, this is going to be subjective for you all, respectively. Some will think what I did was ridiculous, and some of you may appreciate it. And, each option is fine. I just wanted to show you, so if you're considering it as well, this may help you along your journey. Now, what happened with me is I was so glad to see that little copyright stamp go. But I very cleverly trimmed the extra card, and I thought that was a logical way to go. And so I started trimming the deck, and 3 cards into it, I felt like I had made a huge mistake. I really did. I thought, what have you done? This is not right. You shouldn't tamper with them. I just felt I did something foolish. It was really bizarre. And so I thought, well, there's only one option. I have to keep going. I can't do any more about that. And I'm very, very, very lucky that I can purchase, if I really feel the need, another deck with borders. If I feel like I cannot work with this. I'm certainly not one to purchase like 2 copies of one deck. It's just not my thing. But I really felt kind of devastated and just disappointed in myself. Anyway, kept going. There was no choice in the matter. And for some reason, once I finished, I fell in love. What a bizarre journey. I don't regret it, or should I say I no longer regret it. I don't have issues with it. I find it really beautiful to hold. Obviously, the height is still the same. It remains. It's this way. It's the width. And I just seem to feel like when I cup them in my hands, I feel that I'm just that little bit closer to the core of this deck. Now, here's the ridiculous thing. I actually have the beautiful tarot of the She, which I still feel very connected to also, but I didn't trim it. Now, that is so very wide compared to this, isn't it? It's more like an oracle size. And I just blackened the edges and was happy with that. So I feel that this was a calling that came from a very deep place for me. And so I'm not trying to encourage anyone to trim these just for the sake of fashion or hype. But in the long run, it worked out for me, and I'm very, very pleased with the result. So I don't feel the need to replace it at all now. My little heart attack lasted, I guess you'd say momentarily, because once I got to that 3rd card, I did sit quietly with myself for 10 minutes thinking, well, why? Why do I feel such regret? And then again, I think just logic stepped in and I came to the conclusion that all I could do is just keep going, keep trimming them. Otherwise, I'm going to have this uneven tool and it's not going to work at all. And now that I'm here, I'm so happy I did it. I'm so happy. I love this deck beyond words. I do feel, again, it is a bridging deck for me, at least, to move into the world of Thoth in a way that's sort of deep and long-lasting. And I don't really know what else to say. I'm just completely, totally and utterly satisfied. And I would perhaps just like to propose a couple of questions. One, what do you think? Now that you see this deck trimmed, how do you feel about it? But also, have you ever had a connection like that with a deck that goes way beyond the artwork itself? It sounds ludicrous, but I just feel that there's something very, very profound and powerful going on beneath the surface. And I continue to work with this deck, and I don't really feel compelled to use this deck for clients. It's more about my own journey into self-discovery and self-mastery. So if you've had a similar experience, I'd love to know more about it and what deck that was with and whether it continues to this day. You know, if it happened to you a while ago, did it fizzle out after a while, or what happened? Anyway, all in the name of discussion. So there you have it. I'll just finish off with something a little more dynamic. Oh, here we are. Look at Mother Earth. So you can see there, nice and clear, the difference between border and no border. It's certainly not offensive. There's nothing wrong with it, with the borders. It really is just fine the way it is. But for me, it had to be that way. And I'll just show you before I go, if we lay three close together, if say you were doing a spread, and you can again just assess how you'd like to move forward. And one more. So there you have it. The Tarot of the Spirit, borderless, entirely up to you. But I hope you gained something out of this if you were feeling a little bit uncertain, as I was. And if you do decide to trim and you have that little moment of, oh dear God, what have I just done? I do suggest just keep on going, and then give them a beautiful cleanse and a good shuffle. Hold them to your heart, place a crystal over them, leave them overnight, and then come back to them in the morning. Place them over your heart again and do the spread of your choice, and I think you will really feel that wonderful connection that this deck deserves. And so do you. On that note, I'm going to bid you farewell, wish you a happy, happy day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.